This is Smithy.tv.
Hey, Lindsay Lewis.
At Kevin Heron.
So it's been a busy weekend.
It has. And just before that, we are Vintage Podcast.
That is true. It's good to announce your show title. I was so excited for finally finishing the road to WrestleMania that I forgot our own show title.
You're just diving right in head first.
Well, I'll let you do the show. See you later. Tag team partner. I did the Randy Orton to you. Where you're like, you went to tag me.
Yeah, you drop off the ring and just kind of back away.
Yeah. And you're like, don't, you son of a gun.
Yeah.
Vintage Podcast. Welcome.
All right. Well, as we all know, we have had a busy week, as Mr. Lindsay Lewis here was alluding to. We are on the tail end of
the road to WrestleMania. It's been a long drive.
It has been a long drive.
And our car's out of gas.
We ran out of gas.
We biked it the last little while.
Yeah, we had to get a jerry can, and things got weird.
We're not going to just talk about driving, by the way,
No.
for the show. We're going to talk about WrestleMania.
So, okay. As you may know, we have an accompanying podcast to this one, which is a much longer form audio podcast.
And we just recorded it, and it is much longer.
Yeah, which you can find on iTunes. Just look for Vintage Podcast. You'll find us on there.
We got an old mic with a brown background.
Yeah. So we talked for...
We dissect WrestleMania.
Almost 2 hours. We
talked
about this.
About an hour 45. But yeah, we dissect it, and it's an audio podcast.
Yeah. So we will probably not get into everything in as much detail as... we probably should on this one, just in the interest of time. So what we're going to do today is we're going to go through the different matches with some predictions that we had going into it, and
we had some interesting predictions, and they might not have been right at all.
No.
So yeah, let's finish the road to WrestleMania. How about that? Let's finally park this car. With our car that is now destroyed.
Let's put the e-brake on.
Let's leave it in California.
Yeah.
And then Arnold could take care of it. Okay, so WrestleMania has just finished. We just watched yesterday. We watched the Raw after WrestleMania.
Yeah.
Let's talk about WrestleMania 31 for $9.99 in America
and $11.99 here in Canada.
We're here live in Toronto. And also, if we forget a match, feel free to message us on YouTube or tweet us, and we will talk about what you think or listen to the podcast. So yeah, let's do it. WrestleMania.
Okay, so we had the pre-show, which we had 2 matches this year on the pre-show.
Tag team and Andre the Giant Battle Royal.
Yeah, the tag team matches, which had 4 teams on it. The Los Matadores, the New Day.
New Day?
New Day.
Uso crazy. I know that's not how they say
Usos.
it, but I don't care because we're not the biggest Uso fans, especially
here. Yeah, we had the Usos for some reason.
And they were all fighting the defending champions, Cesaro and Tyson Kidd.
So we had both came to the conclusion going into this, our predictions were that Tyson Kidd and Cesaro would retain. And they did. After a hard-fought battle, which we...
it was okay.
It was a good match.
It was a good match in the sun, let's just say, because guess what? WrestleMania this year, and I'm sure most of you who watched it realized it was super bright out, and they didn't even drape any of the arena, and it just it felt like knocked that out because it was just so bright. It was distracting for most of the pay-per-view.
It took place on the sun.
Yeah, and so it basically did. It was like white balance to the 9th degree, but it was just I just want to get that out of the way. I was talking about the lighting just because it was a prominent factor until the last 45 minutes of the show.
Which might actually be why Sheamus didn't debut.
Yeah, he actually debuted at WrestleMania. We just couldn't see Sheamus.
If you ever see a lens flare on there, it was Sheamus.
Was that Sheamus? With his new fake crappy beard? But anyways, we thought that was going to be the end of those guys all in the tag team match. That was, in fact, not the end of the night for them.
No.
They were inserted into the next match 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
Into the Andre the Giant Battle Royal match, which is on the pre-show, which at the time last week we didn't know that, but minutes later we found out.
Which your prediction was, your number one prediction was for...
I had Mizdow, and then I had Ryback. I wanted Ryback to win, and I thought he should, and I still think that. He unfortunately didn't pick. Did you pick the same people?
I picked Mizdow for a... should and would, and I was wrong on both accounts.
He was the runner-up in the match.
Yeah, he was. He was number 2.
By eliminating the third last guy in the match, his protege, or is that the right word?
No, his
his hero. Let's just use the hero, the awesome one, the greatest pre-show star of all time because he's always there. I think for so many years, last few years, the Miz, he eliminates him, and finally, you know what? They're like, he might be able to do it. He just could not eliminate the winner. The son of Andre the Giant. That's right, the Giant from WCW. The man who finally won it. Sorry to interrupt you. The man who finally won a Battle Royal has somewhat of importance.
And
Big Show
was maybe his third win at WrestleMania after
he beat Cody. He beat Cody, and then that might be it.
I think he had one prior to that, and then he beat Cody, and then lost.
Oh, I think he won a tag team match with Kane where they beat Masters and Carlito.
Yeah,
that's right. We're talking about that match. We're gonna move on now because
okay.
When we start talking about that, we know you're like, hey, let's keep it going, guys. So we get those two matches, decent matches, nothing memorable, all that. Again, it was so bright, maybe I missed stuff because my eyesight couldn't adapt to it. So we get that.
We were sunbathing.
We were sunbathing. I'm still quite pale, as you can see. But yeah, anyways, it leads into the actual pay-per-view of WrestleMania 31.
And this is where we kick off with the Intercontinental Championship.
We climbed our way up the ladder
match.
And we tried to get that IC title belt like all these other, was it 6 or 7 guys?
Yep.
And so we had some, good spots. Was there anything that stood out like in all the other years? There was maybe one spot with Dean Ambrose.
Yeah, pretty much. The only thing memorable, and I don't even know if Luke Harper did anything else in this match aside from making me think that he had killed Dean Ambrose.
Good job. You were a murderer, maybe? We don't know. Until the next night when we saw he's alive and well.
He's fine,
Against, in a good match against John Cena. For perhaps the title, we'll spoil in a second. So other than that spot where he threw Dean Ambrose to the ladder, which looked quite violent, and he bounced off in a way that, like, it looked a little bit more than it should have been. It was like, it was to the point of uncomfortable.
It looked like, and we talked about this a bit more in the audio version, it looked as if the ladder had snapped when it shouldn't have. It should have just maybe bent and had a bit of give.
And I just had him like laying there,
Yeah. So I mean, but the end of the match is up to Dolph Ziggler and Dolph Ziggler.
And they start doing like
they're headbutting and they're fighting for this championship. Wade Barrett, I don't know, maybe had gone home at this point. I hadn't seen him in.
I think he bowl hammered everyone until those two guys took him out, and they're up the top of the ladder and they headbutt and they're going back and forth, and eventually the Yes Man got a no out of Dolph Ziggler by knocking him off the ladder. And finally winning the title he wanted all year long at WrestleMania. That's right, the Intercontinental Champion is now Daniel Bryan.
That's correct, yeah.
Yes.
So our first title change of the night was Daniel Bryan winning the IC title.
Yeah, in the third match of the night, technically-ish, I guess. But the the actual opening match of the pay-per-view was a title change. Exciting, right?
Yeah.
Let's keep rolling through the pay-per-view. You guys, your champion, Daniel Bryan, won. They're not going to chant his name anymore. And they didn't, actually. I was surprised. I wasn't sure if that was going to backfire on them or
They had a couple good moments with all the other old-timer IC champions coming out. And, it was a nice little nod to say, like, hey, remember all these great guys that you loved?
Yeah.
They were also the champion, so this means something.
And I love how, because you're going to know what we're going to get to in a few minutes, how Ric Flair was in that, even though I thought he should have been in a different segment, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. But so it was a nice nod, and I get it, and I think he's going to elevate that title for a few months at least. And it's good to just, like, it's that party that goes, like, him and the audience want him in that. We'll see how the champion, who's the heavyweight champion right now, does with this, and then whether or not Daniel Bryan should be there or not. But good match. Whether it was the greatest WrestleMania ladder match, I don't think that will be the case. But good match. We had a couple of song performances. They weren't bad, but again, I think I was saying to you in our audio thing, I think these songs need to be, other than maybe America the Beautiful at the start of the show, need to be on the pre-show.
Yeah.
So like you can hype them up, or even the Raw before, say, hey, you know what, get excited, their performance, this entertainment, but don't waste. That was at least 10 minutes of just music. That could have gone to that Andre the match or the tag team match could have gone on the pay-per-view, and then they actually claim on WrestleMania. So I don't want to talk about too much about music, but I thought I'd just reference it. It was okay, but it just, like, again, it's not an enclosed building. It's so.
Yeah. There was a lot. I mean, it was a good performance, but it didn't really fit the vibe.
It was just like it was just 10 minutes that could have gone somewhere else.
Exactly. So moving on to the next match, which
we'll go the Divas since
the Divas. Okay.
Fresh in our mind.
Sure.
So it was Paige, as you call them, AJ and Paige versus the Bella Twins. In a good but not in the level of hashtag give Divas a chance level. I thought it was going to, as I predicted, I thought this could steal the show or be something big.
Yeah.
It was good, nothing amazing, and the outcome happened where I wasn't surprised, or there wasn't a moment where I was in fear of AJ or Paige ever, like, losing to, like, again, not a bad match, but for give Divas a chance right now being a big thing, I think they got, I don't know if they got to that level.
It was a solid match, but it didn't mean anything.
And
that was my
and
problem.
it's not just because it's Divas, because there was other wrestlers in this this whole card that didn't have great moments.
Well, let me be clear when I say it didn't mean anything. It didn't mean anything because there was no stakes to it, and
because you were saying last show you wanted it to be a title. You thought it'd be a title match.
I thought they had enough rifts within their collective teams with their histories that if they were to make it a fatal 4-way for the title,
there's a lot of story to tell.
You know that to me would have been the smartest route to go. However, they did not do that. They kept it just a basic tag match,
and we got that, you know.
Yeah.
And no title change or anything like that, and it was a decent WrestleMania match.
Yeah, my point is it didn't matter who won. Like if Paige or if the Bellas won, you know, either or, we would have been saying it's a good match, but you know.
Are we going to talk about that match next year? I don't think so.
I don't think so. I think
hate saying that, but
yeah. I mean, you know, they're on their way to making better women's wrestling, more prevalent in the product.
I think we're in a step in the right direction, and I think they got more time, which is a sign of, I think, more respect going to that, and we'll see what they do going forward. And I wouldn't be surprised, even though I predicted this is WrestleMania, there's going to be a solid Extreme Rules title match, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, talking about one of the most hype matches, 14 years in the making.
Oh, yes.
This is a big one because for me, it's my favorite wrestler versus his own favorite wrestler, Triple H's favorite wrestler versus Sting. Triple H versus Sting. 14 years in the making. They have this pretty decent build-up. We finally get there. It's WrestleMania. It's bright as day outside.
Oh, yeah.
Let's introduce Sting for the first time.
Yeah, let's...
A lot of entrances at WrestleMania, by the way. Would you not agree? Like, quite long entrances. This is one of the few that it started with.
It's... WrestleMania has a long-standing tradition of having the most elaborate and spectacular entrances. Now, that being said, with Sting, having somebody who is known also for having very Undertaker-esque entrances within WCW, he was essentially that dark, brooding character in there.
Yeah.
So to have him have his entrance in basically...
what did they do? So what did they have? Describe it to the people who might have saw it, because it was very interesting.
Yeah, in the middle of the day. So it's
that's key, too. The mystery... 14 years... Sorry to interrupt you. 14 years in the making. Mm-hmm. He's a very mysterious figure, like you said, like The Undertaker.
Yeah.
What do they do?
Well, he comes out... Well, I'm sorry, no, he hasn't even come out at this point. You start hearing a faint drumming, and on the stage there is this bizarre Japanese drum setup with these, I guess, taiko drum masters, which I'm not even... I assume that's the drum. But it's those big mallet drumsticks with these painters wearing, or these drummers, and they're all painted with the Sting makeup, and they're wearing like Japanese gis, and it was very reminiscent of a Sapporo beer commercial, and it was the most mind-boggling thing that was. I was getting so excited for this match, just so I could see the entrance
of Sting,
and yeah, so Sting's entrance into
14 years in the making, this match, like.
And instead, I sat there scratching my head, wondering like
this is Sting, I guess.
Is that the match that's happened?
Is Sting Japanese? We're finally finding out after 14 years.
Like it had to be that match because they all had the Sting makeup on.
Oh,
so
they did a promo at that point, so you knew it was going to be that match.
Yeah, for sure. So and then once that happens, you know, the video package started, the Crow, you know, cause, and then he comes out to his theme music, which didn't really make a whole lot of sense, right? So then he comes out of the ring. Triple H comes out, and I think you can take it from here.
I'll just say this because we were slightly talking about entrances. They were both together, like 8 to 10 minutes long. that's a really long time. It's still bright out. The mystique of Sting was one of the big things you and I were both excited about, and I was until that happened, and then it got in the ring, and it was still so bright. The mystery is gone, and the rest of the way the match went, I got a bit deflated. But Triple H comes out in the even worse thing. He comes out promoting the movie Terminator Genesis with a Y, and so he comes out dressed as Terminator, has a helmet like Terminator on it. They eventually go from his POV because he's Terminator now.
Yeah.
It looks at the crowd, and he's trying to find people as the Terminator. Finally locks in as a figure in the ring. It looks through all the wrestlers and eventually finds Sting. And then it sums it up saying Annihilate or something like that. And it was one of the cheesiest things. And it cuts to Sting live in the ring holding the ropes. And he's just kind of like, seriously? And I think at least that's what I got from it, because that's what I was feeling at that exact moment. So finally they do that. Triple H eventually gets to the ring after 10 minutes of this whole hoopla. Sting's been 14 years in the making. The mystique's kind of gone because it's bright out. They finally get into a match, and it's not a bad match.
Yeah,
right?
match is going well.
It's going pretty good. They have good spots. The crowd, I don't know if they said he still got it, but it got close to that point.
Yeah, no, they were chanting that.
And well earned, and he was in pretty decent shape. He started the match full slicked hair, your hair's slicked back, and he's got cool hair like that. It's kind of dyed, and then I guess Triple H was so strong in this match that he started to actually get hair knocked out of him.
Yeah, he punched him so hard that his hair actually ran away, and he was a weird balding mess by the end.
Look, hair loss and stuff like that happen to people all the time. It just to happen in a span of 20 minutes in a match where you have the mystique there and everything's gone. It just everything about this match kind of just went the wrong way, other than the few minutes where they fought by themselves.
Yeah.
Everything else about that, just the mystique's gone, him his hair going crazy and getting weird. And then on top of that, you're going, okay, it probably can't get worse than this. They'll do a decent finish. Sting's going to win. Because what was my quote from last week?
Your quote was that 100%. This is the only match that is a 100% that you can say for certainty that Sting will win.
And I think you said, I agree with you 100%, something like that. Oh, no quoting this. So anyways, match continues, and then familiar music plays of D-Generation X.
Yep.
Because remember, when Sting did a promo a week or two ago, he said, this is not a WCW WWE thing.
Yeah.
This is Sting versus Triple H. So obviously, this is a great idea. Let's change the angle in the daylight.
Yeah.
So DX comes down. It's Billy Gunn, Road Dogg, and X-Pac.
Yeah.
I'd say run down, but they walk gingerly down the ring, and eventually they beat up Sting, and he kicked out, and they start beating him up, and you think, uh-oh, Sting's in trouble. Other music hits.
Oh, and then you get the NWO for life coming
and did
down.
they must have ran down there?
Oh, they jaunted down there just with the greatest of ease.
And you started worrying about some people's quads?
Yeah, I think actually there was a moment where I was fairly certain that Kevin Nash had, in fact...
Hall of Famer Kevin Nash?
Yes, Hall of Fame. So what bugs me about this is...
Sorry.
The fact that for years in WCW, the storyline was Sting versus NWO. It was he was the face of WCW. NWO was the face of the opposition to WCW. So having them come out and just... putting aside the fact that two of the members of the NWO that came down are best friends with Triple H
and DX,
and have been seen with them at the Hall of Fame and everything, and they're part of the clique. That aside, it still didn't make sense. So we're getting into this match, and there's the 3 against 3. It's all evened out.
Because I had mentioned that earlier in the night or later in the night, I think it was actually after, you see that Ric Flair is actually there because we were saying it should have been DDP, it should have been Goldberg. You were saying I thought Ric Flair and Lex Luger.
Because Sting was into he had the Scorpion Deathlock, and who comes out but Shawn Michaels and super kicks him.
Yeah.
So now there's one extra DX member, and there's a lack of a WCW guy. So logic would dictate to me that they would have somebody come down from WCW of prominence. And that's, I think, what you were alluding to just now.
Yeah, either Lex, DDP, Goldberg, or Ric Flair. Ric Flair was indeed there.
Yeah.
There's other options. Even you could have gotten Jericho or something anybody, but they didn't do it. And so eventually, Triple H is going to go hit him with the sledgehammer, and then last second, Scott Hall coolly passes him a bat. You think you're going to get this big battle. They don't do it, but eventually, Triple H... Yeah. He holds up his thing, doesn't want to get hit. Sting hits it, and it breaks in half.
Yeah.
Cool moment, cool spot.
Yeah.
Even though it's it's set up that way. And then, well, obviously Sting won the match, right?
Oh well, yeah.
Because like there's, as I predicted, 100%.
During the time that you went to the bathroom, that was
So yeah, jokes aside, so they wisely, after this huge build up, they decided, you know what, this young buck Triple H needs to win this match because we're gonna hype up next year's WrestleMania, which we're gonna get into in a second with another segment Triple H was involved in. Jokes aside, I think this was because I think one of the matches was really well built later on that night. This was one of the worst all to put together stories. Whether it was just that weekend they built it, it was like I was deflated by the end of this match. Sting lost to Triple H after he got hit with half of a sledgehammer. And it just like you're waiting for like the Ric Flairs or whatever, and it was just kind of that. And they shook hands too, and it was just like everything about that was like from the storyline they're building up wasn't there.
Well, I mean, Triple H had his sledgehammer broken, so he had to get out a shovel.
Yeah, and then when he's with the most dangerous weapon is Triple H with the shovel, not a sledgehammer. And guess what? WCW was put to sleep finally. You know, Vince was just clamoring, so happy. Yeah. And again, here's the thing: I get why Brock Lesnar beat Undertaker, and I think they were kind of going for another moment like that this year, but the mystique of Sting's gone, and I just, as a fan, and it just like, sometimes doing the obvious thing is actually okay, and in this case, I think they needed to do that. Even if Triple H looked strong for 90% of the match, and Sting had to cheat to win, it'd be okay, but like, the fact that NWO came out and Hogan did too, and he still lost, it makes Sting look pathetic.
Yeah.
And so, like, and now in the next night on Raw, they had him come out after Raw and he did the speech, and it was just kind of, and like, the mystique's gone unless they have him face Undertaker, and they might, but they're both kind of getting up there, so I don't know. This match I was looking forward to because of the mystique of Sting. You lost out with the sunlight and it was gone, and this weird entrance, and you got an okay match, which was then ruined by WCW level booking.
Yeah. It was like Russo swerves left and right, and
it was just wouldn't stop until the really, really bad ending.
Yep. And you know, the unfortunate thing is, realistically, you can't say, you know, what Sting can do after this, because, I mean, he came in, people were excited, it was a disappointment. What does he do now? Like, is he just forgotten?
Let me say this because I don't want to keep this going too long, but remember when Jericho like was winning some stuff and then he started putting all the young people over left and right? Yeah. Now whenever he's in a match and they beat him, it's kind of like, I get Sting's not at that level yet. Yeah. But like one more loss, like who are they going to put him in? Like he beat up Bo Dallas afterwards, but like they can't put him in a match with Bray Wyatt because Bray needs to win after, like, the spoiler, he loses later on when we talk about it in a second. He loses, so who do you put him in a fight with that's at that level? Or like, and if you face Triple H again, because of the next segment we're just going to get into, is they can't make Triple H look too weak because they do a celebrity segment coming up next. Yeah. I don't know what to do with him now, Sting, and I think it didn't feel right, the booking they did. You guys can let us know if you agree with it. Of the whole card, I didn't love WrestleMania. I thought it was like a 7 out of 10, but this is the one thing I thought was the worst, like, storytelling and booking.
As you can tell, he's very passionate about this. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm just going to move us along because we will be here till all night.
Until the sun comes back up at WrestleMania.
Until the sun finally
So let's continue on with Triple H since we're on him. Yeah. He came back about an hour or so later after the crowd was excited again, I guess. They started talking. It took a long time, and they said nobody can tell. Like, we basically put a heel promo on the crowd and the wrestlers. If you smell, hits the music hits, and the Rock with power gingerly walks to the ring after three.
It's a long ramp, man.
It is a long ramp, but he doubled that time, and he's a pretty fast walker. He eventually gets to the ring. They confront, and Stephanie basically gets in his ear, like, face and says, like, "How dare you? We the McMahon's made you," and all that. And she eventually slaps him.
She slaps him, and
don't hit a woman, she says. You gonna hit a woman?
He's taken aback, and she says, "You know, what are you gonna do? It's not like you're gonna hit a woman."
And Rock agrees with that.
And Rock nods his head. He leaves. It looks like he's gonna go down the ramp. And he stops and does a beeline towards where the commentary is along the side of the ring. And then stops, looks over, and
the camera pans to a two-shot, and it has The Rock standing beside maybe the toughest UFC fighter, not just male or female, but like all of both. Rowdy Ronda Rousey was there. And the crowd erupts because they knew she was there. They kind of showed her earlier, and we kind of predicted right before it happened. But you're like, oh, they might not do it. They're both in the Furious 7 movie. They're friends. They have the same acting agent and all that. Yeah. And then he puts his hand out. She gets over the ramp. They walk to the ring. And even though the segment's long, the energy of the crowd is killer. It's crazy.
It was.
And guess what? The Rock can't hit you, Steph. but something even worse than The Rock can.
She'd be more than happy to, is I think what he said.
And Ronda Rousey had a great quote, and she eventually, the Triple H says like, okay, enough, enough, and then he says, like, and then The Rock says, you know what? And he made fun of him. He says, I'm done with words, and he hits Triple H, and they fight, and eventually, like, Triple H is against the turnbuckle, and he comes at him, and then Ronda Rousey.
Hip toss, yeah.
And he sells it like crazy, although she's super crazy, like strong, so it just might have been a real reaction. And guess what? Steph's left in the ring.
And we had a good old-fashioned Jericho armbar.
And like apparently the fans were chanting, "She's gonna kill you" when she's walking the ring, which I didn't hear, but now I want to rewatch it to see that. Quick question to you: do you think this is worth Sting losing? I know I hate going back on it, but I just want to close Sting's chapter right now because.
You know what? By the off chance that this turns around, at least briefly, the perception of women's wrestling, I would say yes.
Okay.
But that being said, you know, it's taking a huge chance on, you know, what they did to bring Sting in. You know, and I understand the legacy of Sting, but not much is really going to tarnish what he's done. But you know, the state of and you know, the perception of women's wrestling, that it's a pee break.
Yeah.
It's
I'm excited for what Rowdy Ronda Rousey can do, and I think they're building towards most likely WrestleMania 32 because even in the promo after they use the word rowdier, which is for her. Lastly for Sting, it's I don't. You waited to see this great moment. It's not there, and I don't think you needed to do that to make Triple H or Stephanie look great. Oh, sorry. The main point I want to make before I forget is, will I need to rewatch this match that he had? I don't. That was the one match is like, I'm going to have to watch again because it's Sting there. It's not there. I'm off point. We'll keep going on. Ronda Rousey had a great moment. The crowd was electric. They're building to something, and The Rock is electric on his own. Yep. Then you add that star power and the fact that apparently it's been in the works for months, and Dana White did not reveal it at all. And like it's because it's a tough subject because they're slightly competing, even though it's not the same industry. But it was a good segment, a little long. I would shave like 3 or 4 minutes, like this podcast. So it was a solid segment. It got the crowd back into it, leading into the next match for the United States Championship,
which was actually prior to this, but.
You are correct, but we're just rolling with the show.
We're just we're gonna talk about the match.
Don't heel turn on me, Kevin. Don't you do it. Don't you do it.
Gotta get this folding chair.
So we have a lot of entrances so far in the night, especially that Sting one we talked about and Triple H, which led to more entrances.
Yeah, my favorite entrance of the night was Rusev.
Are you from Russia?
I don't know what you're talking about.
You hate America, don't you?
I would say easily one of the top 5 WrestleMania entrances of all time.
He came out in a tank, for God's sake.
Yeah, it was super impressive. It spoke so well to his character, and I think, it's exactly what that needed. That moment needed
fanfare.
That. And, like, his whole pro-Russia build for the past, like, year plus, it all culminated to that one point. And, you know, win or lose in the match, which, spoiler alert, he lost.
Yeah, and I think most people thought that was happening.
You know, everyone knew that was,
It was the next best thing close to Sting winning at WrestleMania, apparently.
Him losing and his streak ending was worth it for that entrance, in my opinion. Thoughts?
Again, I think that WrestleMania moment for him was the entrance. You know, it was to say it's the same with Bray last year. He got a theme song, so I think that's showing this is guy long term we're thinking of. Unfortunately, the right storytelling happened. I mean, I didn't like seeing this propaganda video of America and all that, and like I didn't think they needed that. I think they just, like I was telling you before, I think he just needed to walk out with the American flag or wear like a red, white, and blue, come out, beat him up, and just have like a brawl for America. And. His package just kind of like was so laughable propaganda level that it just like
laughing at Cena's package.
Yeah, but to compliment Cena, I have to say that stunner move he did like from the top rope. I like every once in a while, like 2 or 3 pay-per-views a year, he brings out a new move that he brings once in a while, and that's a great spot. He did. It was a cool spot.
Yeah, it's like when he did the Hurricane Rana a couple times. You know, it's you don't see him do it often, but when he does, you're like, oh. Good job, Cena.
Yeah, but this one was executed to like, what's he doing? You're like, oh, it was a mess up, and I go like, and then you replay, you're like, no, it was exactly that. cool spot. The right winner, I think, went over. Rusev didn't look terrible. He got a WrestleMania entrance level, so he's a big star.
Yeah.
I think you have the right guy with the championship belt right now. He loves America, and any match with Cena on a pay-per-view is a big match.
Yeah.
So I think who's going to be the guy to take Cena is a bigger question than who's going to defeat Rusev. So I think the right guy won in that match. Good but not amazing match. I don't know if I'll rewatch it.
It did
good.
what it needed to do, and we got a great entrance out of it.
Yeah.
So now the next match is.
So I think we're left with the two last matches?
Yeah, okay. So
oh, wait, so we forgot one, and we always forget it, which is proof of the build-up. So Mr. Money in the Bank, Seth Rollins, who might have a new title later in this episode, was taking on the Viper, Randy Orton. What happened there? Yeah, the fireworks. So Randy Orton, this is a feud match.
Yeah.
He not gingerly walks down, but there wasn't that rage, you know?
No, he wasn't angry.
And keep in mind, it was so bright that maybe I couldn't see his anger, like Sheamus.
Yeah, so you know what, it was it just seemed like any other kind of match. Then it got going. It was a really good match, and we both said last week that we know one thing for sure, it's going to be a good match.
At worst, it's going to be a good match.
Yeah,
yes.
these guys they're going to go out there, they're going to put on a good match. It's going to be entertaining to watch. Whether or not it's a great WrestleMania moment, that's
a different question. Yes.
But this match did have, I think, the most iconic
wrestling move.
Yeah, wrestling moment spot of any of the matches, and that is the finish, which was Seth Rollins going for the curb stomp, stepping on, I guess, not the neck, but the base of the neck, and Randy Orton pushing him up.
Yeah, together they were.
Yeah, and then going into the RKO. So it's a counter of the curb stomp that we haven't seen yet.
Yeah, and Randy Orton's done so many unique RKOs that it's they're always cool to see, but when they do that, it just the crowd gets them. And this one, it was maybe his best one ever, and and not only because he lost the match, but Seth Rollins, if you really look at it from not a story point, winner or loser, but that athleticism is amazing, and that timing of Randy Orton both doing it, I applaud both guys. And there was one of the things I was saying to you, that backstage once they left the ring from that, they must have high five and hug each other.
Yeah,
we got that, because that's a WrestleMania clip for years to come.
They must have been super happy with how that went down. So I mean, that being said, it was there was
good spots. Seth and Randy had good spots every few minutes in it, but because Randy Orton's so methodical, that's good in any pay-per-view, but WrestleMania, when you're only allotted the 15 minutes, so the 12 to 15 minutes without including entrances, it's that slow methodical stuff is tough, and that's the same reason why the SummerSlam match with Randy Orton was not considered as good as it probably should have been. But with that said, the good spots in that last moment, even though like I said, if he was going to lose, he better have a later on result for later in that night. But the great ending to that match.
Yeah, he had Rollins had an array of great WrestleMania moments this year.
Let's just say that, we'll get to it in a second.
Now moving on to Bray Wyatt and The Undertaker.
Yeah. So before, and I didn't know this until after, hours later after watching WrestleMania, apparently Bray Wyatt sprained his ankle. Yeah. Practicing, they were rehearsing their match. So they both got entrances. It was slightly darker because of the Ronda Rousey segment. They tried to build to darken it a bit.
Yeah.
Because we're on LA time in this pay-per-view. So they both got entrances that were good, but because of the lighting, the mystique of both of them, because they're like Sting, those three characters need that mystique or it's not there. Yeah. It wasn't there, Yeah. And Bray did with the lantern. He blew it out, but it was so bright anyways, it was kind of laughable.
Yeah.
But Undertaker came back. He, his hair was dyed and, his hair's thinning. And again, that stuff's silly, but it's still distracting. I like the shaved head Undertaker. He looked in better shape than last year's WrestleMania. I heard he'd been working out. So they do into the match, and how do you think of this match?
It served its purpose. It wasn't a great match. They had a cool spot with them doing their, the
he does the spider walk and Undertaker sat up. That's a great visual, the GIF or GIF, whatever they're called.
It was a great visual. That's all it was. That's the only thing I really took from the match.
And
I mean, the entrances in Undertaker matches, especially at WrestleMania, are the biggest part of it. And even last year, he had all those caskets and then had all the names on it.
The symbolism of he finally burned one that wasn't defeated yet and he lost. It was great. Because you can actually go I gotta rewatch that because the symbolism was there, or they were telling you ahead of time he's about to lose.
Yeah. So I mean, and I mean, he had a kind of cool jacket, but I don't really know much.
Cool jacket. Where'd you get it?
Yeah, like there wasn't anything.
The question
hugely-
I'm going to interrupt you. The question I asked you for any of these matches before was, would you rewatch this down the line? Do you feel the need to rewatch it? The Rollins match, we kind of said, I kind of want to rewatch it now, knowing the storytelling. Would you want to rewatch this match?
I don't think so, and
I don't think you're alone on that. That's
no,
what I think.
no, I got the GIF of the or GIF, of them sitting up and doing the crab walk. That's good enough for me.
And my last thing before we move on to the main event of WrestleMania is, originally, I had Sting and Bray Wyatt winning, right? And I figured, like, Sting's the right guy to go over, he still is, and they didn't do it. But the second he lost, any hope that Bray was going to win is, like, there's no way they're going to have Sting and Undertaker lose.
Yeah.
It instantly went to, like, Undertaker's winning this match. So
Yeah.
that didn't help, so I think they should have switched the order because it was never going to be dark enough for Undertaker. And so if Sting's going to lose, he might as well lose later in the show. So yeah, it was an okay match. Where does Bray go from here is a question. Do you guys have an answer? I'm curious to see what happens. Undertaker we'll probably see a year from now for 1 or 2 more appearances.
Yeah.
Which led into the main event of WrestleMania.
The main event.
The reigning, defending, the conqueror of the streak.
Yep.
The champion Brock Lesnar versus
The babyface
contact wearing cousin, raising The Rock's cousin.
The Rock's cousin.
Roman Reigns.
Basically, yeah.
We just did a Roman Reigns level promo there.
Oh man, I really kind of feel bad for the guy.
I've had a talk where a guy goes like he almost felt like I want him to fail. That is not true at all. I think he's a talented guy, and I think apparently he's one of the guys in the younger guys. He's wrestled the least amount, only a couple of years. I think there's something amazing there. I just think I think he should have been the guy to beat Rusev this year. I honestly think that would be the great WrestleMania moment. The fans wouldn't have turned on him for America too. Yeah. Unfortunately, they put him in this thing, and for what he was given on WrestleMania, I think they changed the storytelling to suit the best way to push him over. He basically got annihilated in the first half of this match.
Yeah, he got beat down by Brock. He went to Suplex City. And it was really entertaining to watch. I'm pretty happy though that they didn't make Roman Reigns look overly weak. They kept him looking strong.
Yeah, within reason.
Yeah, within reason. So he was getting a beat down, and he was still laughing about it. And then he got a couple offensive moves into Brock Lesnar, pushing him into the ring post, which you said he. I
think there's rumors. There's video where you can see the ref giving him something.
Yeah.
Questionably right before Brock Lesnar got cut up.
Yeah.
There's rumors that either it was a legit cut or he bladed himself, and it's starting to side with he bladed himself, and they allowed it because it's WrestleMania.
Yeah.
And to make Brock Lesnar lose, you need to make him.
Yeah. I've just known of instances where Brock has basically put his head first into the, intentionally to make himself
I wouldn't be
bleed.
surprised if that's true.
He did it on Raw that one time, and they had to, every time they show that footage after that, it has to be black and white.
Yeah.
Because it got really bad.
But so he pushed him in. So after he was finally getting beat up, and so Roman got a bunch of Superman punches, and he got a couple spears, and he almost pinned him, and he didn't. And then Brock Lesnar finally got another F5. He goes, I think it was number 4 actually.
Yeah.
He goes to do it. He drops it. Roman looks like he's out, and Brock rolls over, and he's out cold.
Yeah.
Wide shot of the two and laying down, and we're about to see who's gonna get up. Music hits.
Yeah, and that's Mr. Money in the Bank, Seth Rollins.
Is the case of money. He didn't walk.
Oh no, he
gunned that.
He sprinted. Oh man.
That would Cena sprints down fast. It was exciting because the music's there, the crowd's erupting, going because here's the thing about Money in the Bank, it's never been cashed in at WrestleMania, and even more importantly, if you take away any pay-per-view, it's never been cashed in a match because everyone predicted they might tease it at the end or might do it, but not during the match. He turned the main event of WrestleMania out of nowhere the last few minutes into a triple threat. Yeah,
and he really, I think, turned around the pay-per-view for a lot of people.
Yeah.
If that hadn't happened, I
don't know what the reaction would be.
I think a lot of people would be a lot more negative on this pay-per-view. And I mean, there's certainly some down points to it. I think you might be unhappy with the way the Sting Triple H match went. I'm not sure.
Yeah, no, okay, yeah. Spoiler, I am.
So, it's there are some pretty bad moments of it, but all in all, I think it was a watchable pay-per-view. It was fun. I enjoyed it, and I think a lot of that had to do with the turnaround at the end.
And just because, like, it'd be different if Roman was got the briefcase and, like, he's not, like, on the mic and physically ready.
Yeah.
But the thing is, Seth, and, like, that Royal Rumble match was the last thing he needed to prove he can go, and, like, he can do great matches. And just there was that moment when he cashed in, they kept waiting it so long. He's like, come on. And, like, he had to double stomp, and then Ray at the last second. So he curb stomped Brock, and he was about to pin him, but he saw Roman, and he just wasn't sure. So that played the realism going, he just messed up. So the audience going, oh, they just blew it. And then he went, okay, second curb stop, he goes for it, and he goes to the F5.
Yeah.
So he has him up here, and the spear happens. So Roman falls on Brock, and then the last second, so Seth falls on his feet, kicks Brock out of the way.
And then curb stomps.
He curb stomps Roman Reigns, and he gets the 1, 2, 3. Crowd goes crazy. And so not a lot of people heard this, but as the days go by since WrestleMania, there's actually an audio clip. As he's pinning Roman, he's actually saying to him, thank you so much, which is actually a very touching moment because they clearly worked together the last 2-3 years. Yeah. And it's like, as a wrestling fan, like, even for Roman, he got what they needed out of that match because you can see that in a year or two he's going to be good to go. Yep. But yeah, so Seth Rollins wins the title.
And at the end of that match, Brock Lesnar still looks insanely strong.
He never got pinned.
He was never pinned. Roman Reigns still looks strong, but he's not the champion, which made a lot of people happy. And Seth Rollins, who is, in my opinion, one of the
future,
the key workers of the past year in the company, and has really just, I think, outperformed a large number, if not all, of the roster. So I think that ending was given the situation, the most perfect ending they could have done.
It was one of those storylines you kind of, like, in your head, you kind of predict what they should or what they might do. That wasn't, like, some of it was, but not the way they did it. But I applaud them. The match wasn't the greatest, like technical, no, but it was like the right storytelling. The fans from Roman coming down, getting the finger from people, and like the right amount of time, and then Seth helicoptering the title at the end of it with the fireworks. Great moment. I think, like you said, had that not happened that way, I think there'd be a different review from a lot of the fans of WrestleMania 31. So, like, before we close the show, I'd love to. Is there any thoughts from the Raw after WrestleMania? Because a lot of people, I think it's the most exciting night of the year, actually, at some point. So, WrestleMania, good show, and then it led to the next night later, I think, in San Jose.
Yeah, it was a really good Raw, as the Raw after WrestleMania always is. The crowd is always on point.
Yeah, there's moments where they start to lose patience, and I get it.
Yeah, and
15 hours of wrestling in 3 days.
Yeah, they have some great moments and some great chants, and you know, it's always a lot of fun. My highlights just
New Day sucks. New Day sucks. Sorry.
Oh, jeez. So the highlights for me for this Raw are, you know, Kalisto and Sin Cara, the Lucha Dragons.
Oh yeah, I've never seen this guy. You have?
Yeah, I've seen quite a bit of that the Lucha Dragons within NXT, and you know, super impressive. It's great to see them on the main roster. That performance with Cesaro doing the backflip off his shoulders was phenomenal. That was a great spot.
That's the first tag team match in a while that I want to, like, YouTube the footage again.
Yeah,
I haven't said that in a long time.
And after that, there was all the Brock Smash segments.
Also, Michael Cole, get better if you're still alive.
I want to take this time to give my condolences to the family of Michael Cole. And
Booker T and JBL would have helped you, but they got destroyed by a simple table.
Yeah, they had the weight of a table,
the world on the
collapsible table.
So that moment was great. I don't think we're going to see Brock. It's a great way, because Brock's only there for certain dates on his contract. It's a great way to...
suspended, so...
Indefinitely.
It's a good way to keep him off TV.
And the best part is, no matter what, especially as long as Rollins is still champion or villain is, he is rightfully deserved another title match. So it's great for them. They can have him when they need him. Yeah. But right now you get the Young Buck, Seth Rollins, a great opportunity. So I think they had the right moment, and I think next week or soon we're going to see a coronation. But I thought that was a great moment. There was also, one of my favorites was, before we get to the main event, was Sheamus came back. looking interesting. He came back, what you thought, to save the day and turned into heel.
Yeah.
He looked, would you say, stupid?
The crowd certainly thought so.
What did they chant?
You look stupid.
I laughed, and like I think you even said he laughed. I don't know if I saw him smile at that.
He laughed, and then he grabbed the mic and said, "I'm back," and then.
Yeah, and so it's just like if he was a good guy, this would not work. This look, it's a bad look, but I think we're saying he's going for a sort of a warrior kind of.
Yeah, like a Celtic warrior, and I really really hope that this sticks and this gets some traction, because if it doesn't, then really it's a shameful thing.
Lost your head. Too many lines. And then lastly, the crowd was taking over, and they started doing the wave in the main event. And, like, they were chanting, sorry for swearing, but same old shit when it was Orton and Kane in the ring. They were booing anytime Roman was in there. Big Show was getting booed until he was fighting Roman, and like whenever Roman got hit, they were like, yeah. Seth got chanted. They even chanted, "We want Ryback." So like, you know, and he was smiling. I think Ryback needs stuff like that, because like he should have won the Andre battle, in my opinion. But yeah, the main event was okay. They should have had Seth look a little stronger, I thought. But the crowd was doing a wave, and it was like the camera stopped panning on it.
Yeah.
It was pandemonium. It's an exciting thing. We had a U.S. title defense with Cena and Dean Ambrose. We had Bryan versus Ziggler for the IC title. They know they're like it's the most exciting night after WrestleMania, and now can they maintain this going into Extreme Rules / Extreme Rules? Curtis Axel.
I certainly hope so. They have some promising new talent. We have the Lucha Dragons, we have Adrian Neville, and we may even see some more NXT guys coming up in the next coming weeks. So it should be a pretty exciting time. I think this post-Mania season. I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully things stay on the right
Things are
track.
about to get extreme, I think.
I think they extreme.
So extreme. So I think the next pay-per-view is Extreme Rules.
Yeah.
It's in about 3 or 4 weeks, I believe.
Yeah.
So again, we do have a longer audio. This one is also long, but we have a longer audio version of this because again, it's the biggest time of the year for wrestling.
Yeah.
So check us out, look us up on iTunes and all that.
Yeah, and I think we're gonna do this usually. Like a pre and
we're gonna do the near the week or so before the pay-per-view, which will be Extreme Rules. The next one we'll do our predictions and our thoughts on the build-up, and then we'll talk about it afterwards. And then if you want us to do other shows, let us know. Please tweet at the Lindsay Lewis,
at Kevin Heron,
or you can talk to us both
at Vintage Podcast.
And you can also on this YouTube page, you can write comments on here. Let us know what you think of WrestleMania. Yeah. Did you agree with me on like thinking that was the wrong idea with Sting losing? What was your least favorite match and all that?
Yeah, I think I'm certainly excited to see all your thoughts and just please, if you could, write down some condolences for the family of
Michael Cole.
It's certainly a dark day.
Because we can't do Byron Saxton alone on that ringside, because that will get even more dangerous than Brock Lesnar with anger problems.
With that, the audience. That had to endure that commentary were the real victims of the.
Oh, that's great. I'm sure. Like, hey, would I be able to do that? I don't know. Like, so again, it's.
And we joke, obviously.
Yeah, like jokes aside, like overall, like even though we're critiquing, I think we were passionate with something, and that's why we like the standards are raised. There's so much investment in the Stings and stuff like that. Yeah. So it's out of like again, I'm not rooting against Roman Reigns and people like that. So I think there's a lot of seeds planted for good and bad stuff coming forward. Yeah. With the NXT guys, like the Kalisto guy, Roman, as long as they don't try to re-push him right away again. With Orton being pinning Rollins and all that, we got some great stuff. I'm curious to see what the 3 champions they got right now are great, or even the tag champs. Yeah. They got Cena, Daniel Bryan, who are not even the heavyweight champion, and you got Seth Rollins, who athletically can go with anybody. So I'm curious to see the matches they do, and soon it's going to get extreme. Yeah.
So we'll see you guys in a couple weeks, and look forward to hearing from you.
Thanks for listening and watching.
Take care.
John Cena sucks. John Cena sucks.